The HyperX Cloud II has been the best gaming headset under $100 for years, but this, the HyperX Cloud III, is even better, still under $100. Any competitive FPS player, or honestly, anyone who uses headphones for extended periods of time should really look into this headset. The sound is tuned perfectly for FPS games. It is a 10 out of 10 in comfort for all day use, and its frame is made of the same light and durable aluminum as the Cloud 2 that I've had for over 2 years. So let's go for what's the same and different from the Cloud 2. I'll talk more about the Cloud Alpha and some other headsets a little later. So for similarities, both the Cloud 2 and Cloud 3 are wired headsets with a non-detachable braided cable and detachable mics. So these headsets work with anything that uses a 3.5mm connection. So that includes PlayStation, Xbox, a Switch, PC. But for both of these, and this goes to the Cloud 3, the USB dongle does not work with Xbox. Both the Cloud 2 and Cloud 3 come with these USB dongles that you can plug the 3.5mm cable into, but they do have different functions. The builds of both devices are very similar, with faux leather ear cushions inside and an aluminum frame. So if you like the way the 2 felt, then you'll really like the way the 3 feels. So what's different between the Cloud 2 and Cloud 3? Well, first off, the Cloud 3 has the controls right on the headset. So we've got this finite scroll gain wheel that's on the right. And on the left ear cup, we have this mic mute button. Just click this and it will mute the microphone. And there's actually an LED light that'll come on to show you that the mic is muted. And the really interesting thing is you actually don't need the dongle to get this LED on. I have this plugged into a splitter. This is from the Razer Blackstrike V2X. And it'll still work. And that's all the controls are on this, very simplified. The Cloud 2's controls are on this really clunky control box. 7.1 virtual surround sounds here, mic volume up and down, and then headphone volume up and down, and then mic mutes on the side. The Cloud 3's dongle can be used either USB-C, like I'm using it right now, but it also comes with this adapter so that you can use it USB-A. Just plug that right into here. Now with this dongle, the Cloud 3 is compatible with NGENUITY, which has a full 10-band equalizer. Cloud 2, something I was complaining about, no equalizer on it, got one with the Cloud 3. The drivers inside, while still 53mm like the Cloud 2, have been retuned on the Cloud 3. Somehow they're even better for FPS games than the Cloud 2, more on that shortly. And the microphone on the Cloud 3 is way better than the Cloud 2. In fact, this is the new best sounding microphone that I've heard on any gaming headset, even better than the Corsair HS80 wireless. There is one thing in the Cloud 2's favor though, at least for the Kingston model that I bought. The Cloud 2 comes with a mesh bag and also secondary velour ear pads. And talking about the pads, let's get into the comfort and build quality of this thing. Now I've reviewed over 30 headphones and headsets on my website and YouTube channel combined. And even amongst all those, the HyperX Cloud 3 sits at the very top in S tier, right up there with the Cloud 2. Actually, probably even a little higher because after the 2 years that I've used it, my Cloud 2's gotten a little loose. Still sturdy, but it just doesn't sit quite as tight on my head anymore. Now, while I do enjoy these secondary velour ear pads that come with the Cloud 2, they do trap in less heat during the summer. I find pleather ideal on both of these anyway, so I don't think you're missing out on too much with the Cloud 3 not getting those secondary ear pads. Both of these are lightweight, they don't clamp too hard. A little bit more clamping force on the Cloud 3, I actually do prefer that, but it's not as tight as the Cloud Alpha, so it's snug without being tight. The memory foam is amazing on both of these. You can wear them for hours without any discomfort, all day really. Now it's kind of tough to get a good angle to compare both of these together, but the Cloud 3, the red one here, it has a little bit thicker ear cushions, just a bit more padding inside, and I really like that. It's even better than the Cloud 2. And the pads are just a bit bigger on the Cloud 3 than they are on the Cloud 2. So it'll accommodate people with bigger ears. And one of the reasons it was so hard to demonstrate that is because unfortunately there's still no swivel on the Cloud 3. You can kind of do a little bit of this, but there's no real swivel so that you can rest it on your shoulders. But still the aluminum forks can be used to adjust the headset up and down and make it longer. Same mechanism as the Cloud 2. And the wire is braided really thick. I love that. It adds to the longevity of this device, just like the Cloud 2. But after all these years, I really wish they would have made this detachable. I don't know why they don't, especially considering that this, the Cloud Alpha, does have a detachable cable and a detachable mic. But either way, top-notch build quality on the HyperX Cloud 3. In short, it's just as good as the Cloud 2, but even better because the pads are just a little bit thicker, clamps a little bit tighter, but not as tight as the Alpha, so it's a perfect fit. Now, I don't know 100% the long-term durability of the Cloud 3, but since it's so similar to the Cloud 2, I haven't had any issues with this thing over 2 years, and I have been rough with this thing. So this should last you a really, really long time. Alright, headphone audio quality. I did a lot of music listening and gaming with the Cloud 3, side by side, switching between like 7-8 different headsets, listen to that, playing this game, playing that game, this song, that song. The Astro A40, Drop EPOS PC38X, Razer Blackstrike V2, HyperX Cloud Alpha, Turtle Beach Pro Stealth 700 Gen 2 Max. So after all of that testing, here are my takeaways. HyperX went hard optimizing the tuning of the Cloud 3 for FPS games. Playing Modern Warfare 2 was just excellent with this thing. The Cloud 2 has overly sharp treble, and the lows, while they aren't muddy, they don't really wow in the detail down there. With the Cloud 3, the treble is clear, but not shrill. The 1 to 3 kilohertz mid-range, it's open and airy, just like the Cloud 2 to give that sense of space. But the biggest difference is the texture of the bass and sub-bass really stands out. For music, I gotta tell you, as a bass head, I prefer the rumble and kind of boom that you can get with an EQ'd Cloud 2. The Cloud 3, won't give you that. But for gaming, it's excellent because it makes explosions and vehicle engines come through clean without lingering around too long. So footsteps are crisp in these. But the footsteps don't have that thump to them like you get in headphones with some more bass like the Astro A40 and Dropus EPOS PC38X. And one of the reasons I think these shine a lot in Modern Warfare 2 is because in that game, they increase the amount of bass that's in the footsteps. Same story for Warzone 2. But like I said in the original Cloud 2 review, the Cloud 3 makes footsteps sound more like people are running around with dress shoes or high heels. The footsteps are quick, they're a bit unnaturally high pitched, but it does make them stand out really well. In my opinion, even better than the PC38X and A40. Now for music and single player games, gotta be honest with you, I still prefer the HyperX Cloud Alpha. The highs are even more tamed in this thing than the Cloud 3, and the lows hit a little bit more too. Personally, I do EQ this thing to have a little bit more bass and make it sound a little bit less airy, but you can't like turn this thing into like an A40 or a PC38X. Just the way that the bass is, how it just kind of lacks that like boom and that kind of like rumble to it. You can't like increase the bass to make that happen. Just the texture of it is just not the same. But if we're talking FPS games, for footstep awareness and pinpointing weapon fire and other subtle audio cues, the Cloud 3's tuning makes footsteps stand out better than any other device that I've tested besides the Odyssey Penrose and Odyssey Maxwell. Excellent job with this thing, simply amazing. Speaking of amazing, I don't know how HyperX did it, but this is the best microphone that I've heard on any gaming headset. In comparison to the Cloud 2, what I like is that the background noise rejection is a lot more subtle. The Cloud 2, especially when plugged into that dongle, had this noise rejection that just kind of made everything muffled. With this device, as you can hear as I'm typing on my keyboard, it doesn't completely eliminate them, but it quiets them down quite a bit, but it's not too aggressive with the filter. The clarity on this microphone is great. The EQ curve, it's a little bit thin, but I know why they did that because sometimes when they make the bass a little bit more prominent, it just comes off as muffled in mics with the capsule that's this small and so close to your mouth. So for the size and cost of this thing, this mic is amazing. So here are a few clips for comparison. The HyperX Cloud 2 does sound quite muffled, but the background noise rejection is pretty good. Way too aggressive, and this thing, like I actually had a test where somebody was like trying to sing into this thing, and that repetitive sound when they were holding a note, it actually just straight up cut off the sound completely. So yeah, this thing has a super aggressive noise reduction filter that just muffles the audio, compresses it, and it cuts out things that it really shouldn't be. Is the microphone audio quality. This mic absolutely dunks 360 windmills on all of the other headsets that I have. $300 headsets, the Astro A50 and the Odyssey Penrose, $250, $30, it doesn't matter any of the range, this just destroys all of them. I no longer have the Corsair HS80, I sold it, but this device was the second best headset that I've tested as far as microphone audio quality. This is the Dropus EPOS PC38X. Background noise rejection is kind of and it is a little bit too sibilant. I think the highs are like too sharp on here, but this was the best headset that I've used as far as microphone quality before the Cloud 3. This again is the HyperX Cloud 3. Let me know which microphone you thought sounded better. Now the HyperX Cloud 3 is compatible with the NGENUITY software, but I think I'm gonna have to make a separate video on that because it has amazing potential, but it's also amazingly buggy, at least on my PC. So you can choose between several EQ presets and make your own with a 10-band equalizer. They don't have decibel notches, so it's kind of annoying. Anyway, you can control the mic and headphone volume. You can set up DTS spatial sound, which is way better than the 7.1 effect that you get in the Cloud 2. Either way, the surround sound stuff's not something that I enjoy. Cool gimmick though. But yeah, NGENUITY was a lot like Razer Synapse. If you watched my video way back when I talked about the Razer Siren V2 Pro, it had that exact same issue where just having NGENUITY on my computer, especially if it was open, it would sometimes make the HyperX Cloud 3 just not work. The mic wouldn't work, or you couldn't hear sounds in it, or it would like disable other audio sources. Like the dongle for this wouldn't work properly while I had NGENUITY on my computer. So recording this video itself was a nightmare because trying to actually get the mic to work on this thing, and there were so many random conflicts that I was having with NGENUITY. I think it has something to do with the way that they install drivers, because when you install it, it like makes you install drivers and then you have to restart your computer. So whatever it's doing there is probably the same thing that Razer Synapse is doing, but the software does does have a ton of potential, so when they get that thing working consistently, I will make a video on it. Now, before we get to my verdict, there is one big question that I haven't answered yet, which OG HyperX fans are probably asking, which is, what about the Cloud Alpha? So here's the super quick summary on this. The Alpha has a more natural sound than the Cloud 3. Similar story to the Alpha versus the Cloud 2. It has fuller bass, it has less of an airy mid-range, and the treble is toned down a little bit more than the Cloud 3, a lot more than the Cloud 2. But the consequence is this doesn't make footsteps stand out like crazy like they do on the Cloud 3. And it doesn't get nearly as loud. That's a big limitation with the Alpha. The Alpha also has firmer ear cushions, and the material, it's still pleather, but it's like a little bit harder than what's on the Cloud 3. And it has a little bit more clamping force, and you're gonna feel that over like a few hours. Like the first couple hours, you're not gonna feel it at all. But hour 3, 4, and 5, you're kind of gonna feel that a little bit, and it's gonna get hot if your room is already hot. So it's a little bit less comfortable over longer periods of time. So with that said, here is my verdict. I highly recommend the HyperX Cloud 3. Its sound is amazing for FPS games. Its comfort is cream of the crop, and this is the best mic on any gaming headset that I've used. And once NGENUITY actually works properly, or if it works properly on your device, then that gives it a clear advantage over the Cloud 2. For under $100, the HyperX Cloud 3 cannot be beat. However, the Cloud 3 will not be everyone's favorite headset. If you want something with a bit more bass, but you still love that HyperX sound, the Cloud Alpha is the way to go. So if you got more than $100 to spend, depending on where you buy this, and you want something with even more bass than the Cloud Alpha, and just a nice smooth treble, and less of an airy sound signature, especially if you use the mod kit ear cushions and the speaker tags that make this thing fully close back, and you like some of that swivel action, then consider looking into the Astro A40. Really love this device. But still, my favorite out-the-box headset, which is a lot more than the Cloud 3, at least for their launch prices, is this, the Drop Plus EPOS PC38X. This is an open back device, so it doesn't need like an artificial airy boost in the 1 to 3 kilohertz range. It just naturally sounds open because of the physical design of the device. So they were able to increase the bass on this thing, make it sound pretty warm, but it doesn't sound muffled. Just an amazing headset, my favorite headset out the box without any EQ necessary. But again, if we're talking under $100, FPS games, Cloud 3, all the way.